How did you lose your virginity? My long-distance online girlfriend came to visit me. I had my first romantic kiss when I picked her up from the airport. I drove us to a small vacation apartment that I had rented for the first 3 nights. After unpacking some stuff and her calling her mom to say she had arrived, she went to take a shower. When she came out, she wore a negligee and seduced me. I was hanging out with some friends at my house and this girl joked about how I wouldn't fuck her right then and there. Well, I wasn't joking, and I did. But turns out that my buddy who was there paid her $25 to do it. Which I'm flattered it costed so little, but at the same time, I mean, my virginity was sold behind my back. So that hurts in a hard to describe way. Edit, you're all making me wish I said no so I could sell my virginity for more XD. 15 years old at Disney World in Orlando. Met a French girl in the pool and she took me to her hotel room while her parents were out. I love Disney. I'll let you know. My boyfriend thought it wouldn't fit, I thought so too. Spent the first few minutes trying to get it in, then I got on top and sat on him. One of the best moments of my life. I never lose. I had sex. I visited my long-distance BF for the first time and we were planning to fuck on a bouncy castle in the middle of the night. We got there and the bouncy castle was gone, but I told him I still wanted to fuck him, so he told me to lay down right there on the hill, and that's how it happened, lol. It was in an emergency fire exit staircase in school when I was 16. On the bench to the kitchen table in my parents' house. It was my first boyfriend and we had secretly loved each other for years. We finally started dating and we were both afraid to be intimate until finally, in the middle of the night while everyone was asleep and we were eating some snacks, I was like, "Take your pants off," and he jumped up and said, "I thought you'd never ask." I lost mine while listening to the song Closer by 9 Inch Nails. I was 15, a girl I liked were walking from school to where work together. She said she had some weed and wanted to smoke a joint before work but didn't know how to roll one. So we detoured behind an abandoned building and I rolled the joint and we smoked it. Me being a smartass, I asked if I get an award for rolling it. Next thing I know, I'm losing my virginity on a concrete slab behind an old warehouse after close that night at work. We did it again in the place tubes. It was in high school. Some girl I had a crush on used me for a one-night stand. We went to her place to watch a movie because her parents were out. We started making out, and then she asked if I wanted to fuck. Of course, I said yes. She rode me like a demon, and we both passed out after. Never did find out how Gothika ended. By putting my boyfriend's dick inside of my vagina. My boyfriend, now husband, and I was 17 years old. We'd been dating for 6 months. My parents were out of town, classic, and he came over. It was raining outside, so we stayed in and watched movies in my room. He laid me out on my bed and we had sex. It was great. We've been together for 14 years, married for 8. Probably the most boring sex story on this thread, but still, it was a wonderful experience, and it didn't hurt at all since he was gentle, and also we did a lot of foreplay. Today, with my GF. I snuck my boyfriend at the time into my room at my house one night. It wasn't the most amazing experience. I think both of us kind of wanted to get it over with and not be virgins anymore. After my best friend's grandfather's funeral, a female friend from our church called me during the repast to tell me that she was home alone. I left my grieving friend to go lose my virginity. I 16M at the time met my brother's friend's sister 15F at the time and we made eye contact. Like I Helly's contact. We didn't know each other very well at the outset, but shit was on. We ended up together for 1.5 years at an age when that kind of commitment was unheard of. She was rad, we kept in touch always after our relationship, and I'm sorry to say she died of a heart condition in her 30s. Your first is your first. Happily married now, but my wife has her own first. He visits us occasionally, love that dude. Fell in love. We had sex. Eventually got married. Is it summer already? I thought we were a few months early for the sex havers of Reddit. What's the sexiest sex you've ever sexed? Posts. Was a late bloomer, started dating a girl at 25. The problem was that she was 19 and young for her age, so it felt creepy. I just kissed, groped, and talked dirty to her, never pressured her for more. After 3 years, she told me she definitely wanted it, so it was game on. Been a couple 32 years, married for 21. Hasn't happened yet. I'm 26, but have not given up hope. At a festival, with a girl I'd crushed on for a few months but wasn't sure if she likes girls. Or if I did really. Some cider, sunshine, 2 hormonal girls, and a tent that was far too small ended up with some drunken sexy shenanigans. This was on day 3 of sun and no showers, so must have been horrific looking back. Wedding night. 1999, still married. And 4 kids, so still having sex. I was 6. Older woman who lived over the back had an adult son. Happened nearly every day between the ages of 6 and 10. Never quite recovered from it, never quite developed a normal relationship with sex or sexuality. Growing up was rough, my teens were rough. Been in a relationship for over a decade though, so I think I'm doing okay in spite of it. Very strange feeling to just publicly talk about it, even if nobody will ever see this comment. It feels a bit like I've set down a very heavy bag I've been carrying for 24 years. All of these responses seem joyless. I expected more happy stories. On my wedding night. My wife and I were both virgins. 20 years later we are still happily married. I don't loose. I forgot where I left it. It was a lot like my first football game. I was left sore and bloody, but at least my dad came. The girl that is now my wife came over, my parents left and teenagers did teenager things. It was clumsy and weird but still married this hot piece of ass. I put my thumb in her belly button. It wasn't that great, so I don't know why people make such a big deal out of it. In my bedroom with my boyfriend. It wasn't good and I stopped it after a bit cause it wasn't doing anything for me. I couldn't actually tell if anything was in there. But it just didn't feel right regardless. I didn't tell him that, of course. Having sex after childbirth was way more emotional and scary, lol. School trip in Italy. Lost it to my friend's sister in Rome, in a room full of dudes. IF was 14, he was 19. He told me if I loved him I would do it. I was a child. Anyway, he died of a brain tumor a few years back. I remember my first time, no word of a lie, we listened to Plug In Baby by We're Not Together Anymore. That song has meaning to me to this day. Cruise ship just before my 15th birthday. On our last night of the cruise, I wound up hanging with an 18-year-old woman in the ship bar whom I'd spoken with a couple of times before. Bartender had a crush on her, so she kept getting free drinks and wound up giving me half of them. After we left the bar, we went up to hang out on an empty deck and started making out before she unbuttoned my shorts and took over. The whole experience exists in half flashes in my mind, I don't remember all of it.